Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a special show. We have a great guest today. But first, all information presented here is for educational and informational purpose only, not intended as financial advice. So always do your due diligence. And now that we got that out of the way, let me introduce our wonderful guest. And you may have seen him before on some of the shows. It is Fuse Machines CEO Samir Mesquite. How are you this morning, Samir?
Good. Thank you for having me here, Doc.
Oh, thanks for joining us this morning and so many great questions. And if you're not familiar with Fuse Machines, well, you're going to learn about it today, that's for sure. But they are an AI product and solution company, and they do have a lot of AI products and solutions. But first, let me ask you, Samir, how did you get into the role of Fuse Machines CEO? What led you down to this path?
It was about 13 years ago when I started the company. When By then I'd already been doing research in AI for almost 15 something years. So for example, I built some of the speech-to-speech translation systems, question answering systems in undergrad, and then in PhD, and then worked on those in IBM and so forth. So I was a pure researcher, right? Like building the state-of-the-art advanced AI systems. And in 2013, I thought if I want to create a product, have a wider impact, I should leave all of that and then start a company. And so I started the company Fuse Machines and became the founder CEO then.
Wow, pretty impressive. Well, let's just get right into it. So I would like to know, tell us about this $20 million facility and how is this going to help your growth in the company?
You were talking about the recent announcement that we
The
made.
recent announcement. Yeah, we're getting right into it. So you had a huge announcement recently. Let's put it that way, I would
Yeah. So
say. So
basically,
yeah, I'm jumping right into it, assuming
yeah,
that people do know. But here, you want to explain the big announcement and then we'll discuss how it's going to help growth.
yes, yeah. We recently signed an agreement with Roth Capital, where it's a committed equity facility, which allows us to tap into up to $20 million. It's just to explain that it's committed equity facility where, as we need the cash, as we grow and as we need the cash, we can time it and draw down on the cash accordingly. So it allows us to plan what we need based on the plans we have in organic growth or acquisitions and so forth. And we're quite excited about the facility to have it in place so that we can use the cash when we need it.
Yeah, no, that's a big deal. I mean, $20 million to have access to for acquisitions and to grow the company, mergers or whatever you like to see coming your way. That's a great part to it's nice to have that in your back pocket, that's for sure. Instead of having to go look for it when the opportunity comes to your lap, now you're already ready and ready to jump on any opportunities that you have. That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit more about the organic growth and the acquisitions that we're talking about.
Yeah. So this year particularly, we've talked about potentially three different avenues of growth, which is organic growth, partnerships, and acquisitions, as I mentioned before as well. Particularly organic growth, we are optimizing various things on top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and spending more on sales and marketing. Basically, we haven't had the opportunity to spend as much on sales and marketing until now because we have never had the kind of capital we wanted to spend on it, from hiring more AEs, doing more events, you name it, right? There's so many different channels that you could capitalize on, but all of that require capital. And we're excited, having some capital both from the IPO proceedings and now also some of the drawdown facility to be able to use it on organic growth, and improve the metrics on top of the funnel and middle of the funnel, and conversions, and closing more accounts essentially. Many times for many of our clients and potential clients, when we go in, they might start out small, but we have a lot of examples of a lot of clients that grow over time. So getting them through the door uh, with more spend to be able to get them into meetings and closing them will be quite huge and will start to show results in the coming quarters. Obviously, market is very competitive at this point, and partnerships provide us that deeper relationship that partners have already set in place with the potential clients, and you may have seen some of the announcements we have done on partnerships. Uh, Quite a few of them, in fact, in Q1 itself, and more to come, which will allow us to sell our product and services, be it through reseller or be it through co-sell and so forth. So a lot going on there as well.
So the partnerships are clearly helping the company go forward and make it bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. Like just to give an example, we had done a press release on the partnership with AWS, where we're one of the few hundred companies with a partnership tier that allows us to tap into AWS funds, co-selling, co-branding, and a whole bunch of things, right? That becomes a huge accelerator because AWS is a big brand, they have a lot of clients, all of that, right? So that is just one example. We had announced a partnership with Modular, which is IBM Platinum partner, and we have announced reseller partners, partnership with Talent Connect, for example, where they are integrating our product. Those are many different ways of distributing our product and services through our partners, which I believe will accelerate the growth even further.
Yeah, I mean, AWS, that's a big deal. I mean, what is it? Amazon's web services right there. So I'm sure that would help you. Just being just being able to say that you're a part of it. That's huge because, like you said, not many companies are even a part of that. So I guess would that give you an edge as you're trying to win deals with other companies because they see that you're a partner or you have a partnership with AWS? Does that help you?
Yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of the clients, because we're dealing with most of the enterprise clients, most of them are either in AWS or Google or Microsoft and so forth, right? So depending on which client we are working with, and especially if they're like their overall cloud that they use is AWS, seeing that we are a partner of AWS with a certain level of partner tiership, because it takes a lot to get to that partner tiership, right? Like you need to go through all sorts of hoops on having number of engineers that are certified and all that stuff to be able to get there. And that obviously provides confidence to the client who are looking at our product and services, especially if they are AWS client themselves, right? Uh, so the trust factor goes up.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what. Yeah, I would assume so. And like like you said, I could only imagine what kind of hoops you had to jump through just to become a partner with AWS. I'm sure they don't make it easy. That's for sure.
they don't make
Does
it
it?
easy.
Did they give you any other like special perks or benefits being a partner with them, or is it just basically you can use them as on your as your sales pitch that you're a partner with them, or do you get like
No,
special perks because it's such a big network and they have access to like everything? Do you get access
yeah,
to
yeah,
special perks?
absolutely. So
Oh,
we get special perks. For example, they run different kinds of programs in different times, right? Right. Like for example, agentic AI assessment is one example where right now with that program we could accelerate some of the conversions with clients where we could say, AWS is willing to fund agentic AI assessment. Are you interested? Right now, the funding comes from some of the portions related to that comes from AWS. The client doesn't even have to pay for it for the assessment portion. Now that accelerates the sales cycle. So that's just one example, and there are other things that are provided by AWS uh, to accelerate the sales cycle. And I said, and like I said, AWS is one of the partnerships we have announced, but obviously there are more partnerships that we are working on that we are quite excited about.
yeah, that's just one of them, and I mean that's a big partnership, and then you got other ones that are big. Let's go into agentic AI because that's a fascinating thing. And can you explain the shift from assistance to execution? And are there any real enterprises like cases that are already using agentic AI and making this already work?
Yeah. So I've been doing AI for about 25 years at this point, right? And AI transformed and changed a lot where everybody got excited after the Chat GPT and Gen AI came to the world. And for quite a few, especially I would say last two plus years, uh, it gotten very popular. People are asking questions in Chat GPT or Claude and getting answers, and that's what one of the primary use cases. right? Like give me a new slide, draft me a post, right? Like draft me a letter, like draft me whatever you want. Like basically, a lot of content generation is happening, and also doing research, asking ChatGPT or other systems, saying doing research on this and getting this massive report, or doing research on the M&A and whatnot. Um, from that to now, AI systems have gotten capable to do a deep reasoning where it is able to correct itself and execute tasks, backtrack, execute again, and figure out that sequence of things that it needs to do to do a complete completion of a task, um, which is was not really possible like 2 years ago, and like especially agent having that capacity of agents was not really there even a year ago, but we
Hmm.
have now, right? And this gets me really excited because as the company's name, Fuse Machines, right? My vision like 13 years ago was fusing machines with humans
Mm.
to in an enterprise environment where it gets integrated with humans so that the humans and machines are working together, fuse machines. Right? But obviously, AI was not there. We were inching towards it. But finally, I see after having worked in this for 25 years that it is there. It is now at a point where we can really create machines that can work with us, alongside us, for us to complete very complex tasks. Um, and that gets me excited. And we've already starting to see the use cases, right? Like to go back to the questions you just said, are we seeing agentic AI use cases? Yes, absolutely. We are seeing agentic use cases through all the departments, through all employee levels, and so forth. And one example I would give is, I've talked about interview agent a couple of times, um, and within the interview world of talent acquisition world of doing interviews, scoring resumes, and so forth. Now you can have agentic AI system that can do multiple tasks, from reviewing the candidates from the get-go, of scoring the resumes, looking at the skills, setting up the interviews, and then assisting in the interviews. And some are even trying to do the interviews themselves with the AI systems, but I think primarily it is being used to assist the interviews, do the follow-ups, and so forth. So it's a multi sequence task that is being completed by agentic AI systems.
Yeah, no, and you had said something like 2 years ago. It's crazy. You were so early to this party. I mean, 25 years you've been doing AI. I mean, I mean, 2 years ago, I have a buddy that was real. I say he was. You smoked him being early. I'll tell you that. But he had known about AI, and he was showing me. I didn't even know what Chat GPT was at the time, and he was talking about it. And yeah, back then he was like making crossword puzzles and stuff and selling it on Amazon. I didn't even know what it was at this point, but you were way earlier than that. So you had seen all this stuff like years and years ago. I've fused machines. I mean, look how early you are, and look what's going on here. It must blow your mind. Like, I knew this was going to happen 25 years ago. It just took this long. Finally, technology and
Yeah.
AI and everything caught up to you, I would say. Holy cow, you
What?
were early.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I started, it was not about it. It was a lot about pure passion for knowledge in AI, right? No, I mean, nobody could have told 25 years ago that this all would happen. Even 13
This would
years
happen.
ago, when I started Fuse Machines, and one of our first product was customer service automation, right? Like the chat systems. And we were one of our first clients was New York City government. And when we were pitching to deputy mayors, I still remember our advisors saying, "Don't call it AI system, just call it natural language dialogue system," because that's what it was, right? Because even 13 years ago, there was not the best, like connotation around how AI was perceived. Um, so we went in that pitch saying it was natural language dialogue system, and got them as a client. But obviously, that was 13 years ago. Things have changed a lot now, and now everybody is very excited about AI.
Yeah, I mean, 13 years ago, if you said this was AI, they probably thought you were crazy. So you couldn't even use them letters because they probably would have thought you were a little nutty. You probably wouldn't have sold anything if you said, "Hey, this is AI." It was way too early. But now everything's AI. So yeah, you were way early to the party. That's amazing that you had that vision. And maybe like you said, you didn't envision this was happening, but you had a vision that something was going to happen in AI, and computer systems were going to join with human beings, and somehow they were going to work together. And you obviously saw that somewhere 25 years ago. That's impressive. I'll have to say that's amazing. God bless you, Samir. And then you stuck with it all these years when it wasn't even popular. And now it must be like a party for you every day. It must be like, see, I told everybody this was going to happen. I was just like a quarter of a century early to the party. That's all. That's amazing. That's an impressive story.
Well, yeah, I mean, so being earlier, I mean, at least being early provides some of the insights that allows us to win, right? Sometimes you don't want to be too early either because the tech is not ready. And like I said, 25 years ago, yes, I was in AI, but I was just a student building complex AI systems. But having been AI for that long, and especially over the last 13 years, where we were building AI for enterprises, have given us insight on what works and what does not work, right? And you've seen these reports, like MIT report, other enterprise reports, and so forth.
Do you hear that sound?
Yes, let me let me actually.
Oh, is it something outside or something?
No, it's somebody's cleaning the yard.
No problem. I just didn't know if something was wrong, because sometimes there'll be something weird. Yeah, go ahead, then. I'm sorry to cut you off. I just didn't know if
Can you hear
was
me, or should I ask them to stop?
if you want, go ahead. Whatever you want. I'm fine with it. I just didn't. I wanted to make sure the StreamYard wasn't messed up. Sometimes something can happen on there.
No, they've gone further away now. So
perfect. Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Basically, I'm saying, like, one of the insights we've had is to really get the ROI in enterprise, right? Like, you've heard all these POCs not converting into full deployments. A lot of times that does not happen because, as I've said before as well, which is for enterprises, there's a lot less tolerance for noise, right? And I gave this example in the CEO letter as well. Like, if an enterprise is deploying a refund agent, if the refund agent makes an error 2% of the time, and gives errors, gives refunds for wrong amounts or to the wrong people, they will completely shut it down. While when we use ChatGPT or Claude, we have a tolerance for noise. If it makes a mistake, we'll say, just fix it like this, and so forth. So one of our views and insights and thesis is to get the ROI, you need that last mile accuracy. And that's what we've been doing, right? That's why we're focused on domain-specific agents that allows us to create that last mile accuracy and be able to beat other systems. And the results are in the pudding, right? We have clients that see that and they get excited about what we have to offer.
Well, fascinating. How do your customers or clients, how do they measure success when they're using your solutions?
So depending on which engine you are looking at, there are different measures, right? For example, for fraud detection, it is, well, how much fraud did you catch, right? And how much was I catching before? Now how much extra fraud detection the fraud is being catched. So and I think with the agent and agentic AI, these are some of the ROI related questions becomes even more relevant, because unlike before, as the agents gets integrated, some of the measurement around efficiency and so forth is harder. So these are some things that it's a larger question for enterprises. And as we create engines, we will be figuring out as we build new engines and agents, we will be working on the new metrics as well on the ROI side of things. But as I've said before, ROI is one of the biggest driver for our clients to use us, because we focus on it so much, and we get there because of the focus on the last mile accuracy.
So have you seen like for example, your fraud detection, your clients obviously are using it for a reason. They're seeing that return on investment's obviously really nice. Is the fraud that it's detecting way more than it was before? Are you seeing a big difference in what your solutions are doing?
I cannot, because we haven't publicly
no problem. Yeah, no. I understand. I was just asking a roundabout question, but I completely understand. So no problem with that. So the $20 million facility that you guys got, let's go back to that. Is that going to allow you to move faster than your competitors and consolidate in smaller AI players? I assume in this industry, there's a lot of mergers and acquisitions, as we spoke
Yeah.
about. Is that one of the main things in this industry? Is trying to find that next acquisition that you can help build your company to be bigger?
Yeah, absolutely. As you've laid it out as well, the market is very competitive. I think there's more and more M&A coming. It's either you eat a company or you get eaten. I guess it was one
Yeah,
of the
that's true.
when it becomes very competitive, right? And obviously, having a facility to be able to use that we can use to acquire companies becomes quite crucial for the growth. And I've laid this out in my CEO letter as well. Is acquisitions is one of the strategy for growth, which we want to pursue quite actively, because you know there's there's a lot of companies, as you said, and there are some very good opportunities that is very accretive to us, that will uh, increase the top line revenue without adding a lot of burn, that will add some symbiosis around tech and product we have. But obviously, we also want to make sure that whatever company we acquire has a cultural fit as well. And we are in the process, as I've laid out in the CEO letter as well, where we are pursuing various opportunities to acquire companies.
So you're actively looking right now, as you mentioned in the CEO letter, and that's
We
why you did
are.
get the $20 million facility to help facilitate some of these that are on your radar. I'm assuming.
Yeah, the facility will be used for all the three different channels we're looking at, right? Including organic growth, working capital, partnerships, and acquisitions if we are acquiring bigger companies and so forth. It all depends on the size that we are looking at, the ticket size, and so forth. Um, and 20, to just to reiterate, $20 million is the max capacity on that, right? It is whatever we draw down. Uh,
Interesting. You mentioned your interview agent. I was fascinated by that because it is very interesting that these agenic things are. I mean, they're just performing interviews now. I mean, you don't even need HR people, and it's already being used, like you were saying. So, what efficiency gains are your customers seeing from this? Are people kind of getting rid of more HR people, or do you need an HR staff to still oversee the agenic AI? How's that working right now? In the industries.
so there are a couple buckets of customers that are the talent acquisition leaders. Let me say that. So there are buckets of talent acquisition leaders who have different opinions on how much they want to automate the over talent acquisition process. Right. Some would say, "Well, I want to automate everything." Some would say, well, "No, we cannot automate everything." What we are seeing in the market is more the bigger the more of the companies don't want to automate everything because they worry about candidate experience, where candidates don't like being interviewed by a completely synthetic voice.
Mhm.
So that's a big concern. And there's also a legal aspect of it because I think there's laws are being changed on how much you can use, how many candidates, if you're sort of sourcing or screening more than 50% of candidates, does your model needs an audit or not? So there's these complexities around legal challenges that are going on as well. But at least from our side, the way we have looked at it is very focused on providing assistance to a recruiter. So we hire a lot of engineers, and one of the pain point that we have seen is to hire a technical hire, like a technical candidate, an engineer, right? The final interviews needs to be done by the senior engineers or VP of engineering or senior software engineers. They are the most expensive resources. Plus, they don't want to be interviewing. They would rather be writing the code instead of interviewing people.
Mhm.
But they also want the best engineers to join the team. So uh, in that process, the recruiter who is non-technical, who are the first interviewer for that candidate, usually ask general questions about the expectations, cultural fit, and so forth. And if they check all the boxes, they pass on, and the senior engineer gets interviewed. But what ends up happening is a lot of times they might match in other dimensions, but they are like horrible engineer, or the skills do not match. So our interview agent, what it does, it superpowers the first line recruiter. The You can imagine a recruiter, for example, trying to hire um, agentic defense engineer, let's say, right? The recruiter who's non-technical has no idea what questions to ask about that particular case. But our interview agent joins the interview alongside the recruiter and guides the recruiter what questions to ask, listens to the candidate's answers, scores them, gives follow-up questions to the recruiters to ask them. So it completely superpowers the recruiters, and we've seen tremendous um, value out of it, and we see this pain point resonating with a lot of clients as well. Um, yeah, um, so we're seeing a lot of value, and I believe a lot of our clients will start to see value as well.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense because, like you say, it adds value when you have somebody sitting there with AI. It's like they have like the encyclopedia of the world at their fingertips, way faster than Google and anything else. So you can just sit there and ask the appropriate questions, or it gives you great feedback so instantaneously. It's amazing. And where else have you seen the biggest productivity improvements from agentic AI?
So there, as I said in the beginning, like I'm very excited about what agents can do, and I'm seeing this firsthand. We are building such amazing things, and we are already started deploying internally, and we are seeing it across the board, across all sorts of use cases. Um, and at some point, I will be talking about some of these innovations we have done, but we haven't publicly discussed yet, and we haven't publicly released all these innovations yet. And that is happening. It's never been more exciting. And at some point, we will be putting some things out on what are all the things that we have created, innovated, and what clients are seeing, how they're finding valuable, and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, it is an exciting time, that's for sure. Like I said, I can only imagine how excited you are being in this for 25 years and seeing all the changes. And honestly, I have a question. How many trial and errors have you gone through in 25 years of AI? And obviously, AI back then wasn't AI like you were thinking it was today, like you were saying. But I mean, just the trials and errors and things that you've tried out and didn't work and see that works. That experience right there is you couldn't pay for all that. And what was like one of the biggest learning lessons that you learned in the last 25 years just dealing with AI, seeing how everything has changed?
I mean, from a trial and error perspective, that's pretty much all you do when you're doing PhD, right? Like I got my PhD in computer science, focused on AI, particularly in language related AI. And when you are doing research, improving that accuracy, even a little bit, takes a lot of effort and time, and it requires a lot of focus. And you need to keep reiterating the experiments you do until you squeeze out that extra accuracy. It is very tough. But that extra 5% accuracy difference, when you are doing a PhD, obviously that means a new research paper, right? And you publish and you get awards and whatnot. But as a
Mhm.
company, that 5% difference could mean everything against the competition, because that will allow you to win because your product is better.
Yeah. And your profit margins will be that much better and keep you in the game to keep going. How do you ensure governance and safety and all that and oversight when AI agents are making decisions? And do the laws just constantly change with AI? I'm not even familiar with that, but I'm sure you have to keep up on them kind of things too.
Yeah, so governance is absolutely one of the biggest issue in agentic AI, and we are doing a lot of innovation internally as well on all the governance and guardrails, right? Like the hallucinations, security, safety, guardrails, injections. There's so many things uh, that are potentially vulnerable in when you are doing agentic AI, and it is more so than even, you know. ChatGPT kind Gen AI system where you are asking questions. Obviously, ChatGPT does also agentic AI and a lot of other stuff. But agentic AI, because it is doing end-to-end tasks, it has a lot more access to your systems. It can have access to your emails. It can access to have your Google Drive. Now, when an agent gets deployed in an enterprise, right? One of the things that we have seen already is what's the access level on data and what's the access level on executions. Can somebody access the data but not execute on it? Can somebody have access to the data and execute at all levels? Can they get all the access and all on both data and execution? And what are all the other uh, all the other guardrails? Like for example, to give you an example, a contract agent or more access, a contract agent that has more access level could review the contract, redline it, send it to the client, accept the red lines, send it through DocuSign. Once it gets signed, file it, and have it access to the contract software to file it in the right place. But the same contract agent, which has sub agents, if it has only access level, lower level access, for example, for an account executive who can just use it for reviewing the contracts, how do you manage that access level even though it's the same agent and sub agents, right? So those are some of the guardrail questions on the access and execution, but there are a lot more other questions related to agentic AI, um, from detecting toxicity, detecting prompt injections and so forth, which we're actively working on.
Interesting. What industries are showing the strongest demand for your solutions at this moment?
So right now we are very much focused on retail, right?
Okay.
I'd laid it out in the end of 2025 as well. The market is, as I said, it's very competitive. If we try to build for every industry, we're not going to be successful. We want to explore more industries in the future, but we're going to be very specific on the sequence of you know domain and industries that we and the problems that we address. And we are currently this focused this year in retail. If you're asking this more on a broad terms where AI becomes more applicable, I think the big buckets are retail, healthcare, and finance. I think those are the big buckets where there's a lot of already use case happening and a lot of uses. For us this year, a lot of focus is in retail and also some on real estate.
Mm. Yeah, I could definitely see healthcare being like one of them big industries that uses this AI type of thing, and yeah, it's very. I'm sure it's a huge industry for you guys,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What I'm sure you do. You obviously use your AI agentic in your own company. I'm sure. Have you learned any kind of crazy things just using it for yourselves? Any lessons using it organically? Whatever what the solutions you're using, I'm sure you're using them. So do you ever see anything that you need to improve?
Um, all I would say is if you are not using agentic AI, you better start using it, because the kind of efficiency gains you get and kind of uplift you see in pretty much everything you do in sales, marketing, to legal is huge. The one of the biggest thing that I've seen is the questions around data, data access, and particularly what are the things agents can do, right? Are you allowing the agents to delete emails, right? I mean, it's a question. I mean, I frame the question just on the email side, but agents have a lot of access. And one of the things we are seeing internally is how do we manage when you have so many agents being used by so many people and it's working alongside, and agents can call other agents, sub agents can call other sub agents, and so forth. How do you manage all of that, orchestrate all of that, and have the right set of guardrails, governance around it? Is a big question for everybody, and we're learning a lot as we do it.
Yeah, no, that brings up interesting points right there, and I think that's a great way to end, I would say. Is there anything else you would like to touch on before we get out of here? I think we touched on a lot. And anybody just tuning in, We're talking to the CEO of Fuse Machines, and that is Samir. And yeah, that was fascinating. Just if you didn't hear what he said earlier, you got to go back and listen if you're just tuning in, because I mean, this guy, Samir's been in the industry for over 25 years, guys. He was doing AI before AI was even thought of, I think, because back then they were just making movies of it. It was kind of like this thing that people would just dream about in the future. You saw something in the future there 25 years ago. I'm impressed by that, Samir. I really am. I'm fascinated by that. That fact that you had that vision and just stayed with it for this long is totally impressive. And God bless you. And yeah, Fuse Machines, everybody, check them out. Obviously, the stock ticker is Fuse, Fuse. Check it out. And I know you guys have a Twitter account, an X account, X account. Anywhere else anybody can get updates from the company?
Yeah. So we have Twitter account, LinkedIn account, Instagram, like all the social channels. Yeah, and the handle for all of them is Fuse Machines.
Perfect. That makes it nice and easy. So at Fuse Machines, guys, check them out. I mean, great stuff right there. And I'm sure it's going to be even bigger and bigger as this agentic AI is just beginning. This is like the tip of the iceberg. And Samir, he was way early, guys. I'm going to bet on Samir. I'm telling you that. I think he's into something. I think Samir knows a couple things in this industry. Let's put it that way. So you guys check out Fuse, Fuse. Thank you so much, Samir, for taking your time out of your day and joining us and telling us all about Fuse Machines. Check out Fuse Machines, and then please come back again and give us an update what's happening there. And we will talk to you soon. Thanks so much.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Bye.
Awesome. Have a great day, everybody. Talk to you soon, Samir.